Blade Runner 2, good evening. Blade Runner 2, thank you, that's all received. No immediate traffic for you.
Anthem of the Seas.
Anthem of the Seas, yes.
Yes, Anthem of the Seas, yeah. Figures for you, 454.
454, thank you.
Ahoy, shipmates. I don't know if you managed to catch the radio there, but 454 on board the Anthem of the Seas. That's a lot more than we're used to. I'm guessing they're starting to build up with shipmates on board, ready for the cruising season kickoff. And I'm having a few gremlins in the work at the moment, but I think it's all tickety-boo at the moment. So we've had a wonderful weather day in Port of Southampton this afternoon, all day. It's been really sunny. It has been very windy though. Oh, ahoy ferries, S&P trackers. Why is she going to Gibraltar? I don't know. There we go. I've answered that one. Oh, ahoy Colin Wykes. Oh gosh, there's a lot of people in the chat here. No, ahoy, ahoy everyone. There we go. Take me a little while. But anyway, we've got a 2-for-1 special this evening. Anthem of the Seas, which you can just about see on the right-hand side of the screen there. That's the stern of the vessel. I believe that's the sort of glazed feature that you can just see sticking out there. And then further down the port, which we can't see at all, is Queen Elizabeth. They arrived this morning in convoy, I suppose. You know, very, very close to each other. And
Queen Elizabeth, Reaches.
Reaches, Queen Elizabeth, starboard side 2, 106.8.1 out for Weymouth Bay for anchoring. Crew figure to follow, and we'll be ready for 18:30 as it stands.
Yeah, sorry, all copies apart from the crew figures.
Sorry, crew figures to follow.
To follow, okay, thank you.
Southampton VTS, Red Osprey, permission to depart Royal Pier and come at speed please, change PC 1155.
There we go, yeah. Afternoon and all understood.
well, I hope you can hear the radio. I can certainly hear it, but I'm not sure if you can. If you did hear the radio, you would hear the Queen Elizabeth is going to be dropping anchor down in Weymouth Bay. I don't know where the Anthem of the Seas will go to after Gibraltar. I don't know where she'll start cruising from either. That's part of it. But anyway, the Queen Elizabeth, she'll be leaving at 6:30. She'll be going probably... well, she'll definitely be going down the end towards the where the one Swan is. She'll spin around there and come back. I said probably because I was actually thinking the Anthem of the Seas, which is closest ship to us. She might turn around just there, right in front of us, which will be splendid if that happens. But I don't know. She's quite a big ship, and sometimes they don't. And I don't know the logic behind where they turn, I'm afraid. I should ask someone. Oh, Hoof 2001, the radio is clear. Oh, thanks, shipmate. Good. Sorry, I'm...
Point just, yeah, south right, thank you. Traffic outward bound is Grand Legacy at Dockhead. Next departure will be Anthem of the Seas, 101, followed by Queen Elizabeth from 106.
Yes, we get quite a useful bit of information over the radio. Especially useful when I'm doing a live stream to find out when they're leaving. They all give us some information, how many crew on board. Well, I was going to say how many passengers, but that's not quite yet, although it is soon, of course. Good old Robert's there. I will probably turn the radio off shortly because it does bark a lot with all sorts of people coming and going. So Robert's our local ears, and he'll keep us updated with any pertinent information, like when they're singling up and ready to leave and so on. I'm not clever enough to listen to the radio with my ears and talk to you at the same time. Barely clever enough to talk to you, really. Yeah, it's beautiful. It was beautiful weather all day. Beautiful this morning. I've got some good shots of the ships coming in. It was very dark. I haven't had an opportunity to drone the Anthem of the Seas yet, I've noticed. I was hoping to do it this morning, but it was too dark.
Legacy.
Anthem of the Seas, ship.
VTS, Grand Legacy.
Grand Legacy, VTS.
Victoria says Western Shelf outward bound.
Grand Legacy, yes, afternoon, and all quarter, thank you. Inward bound is the tanker Boeing at Norris Boy now. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so thank you.
Yes, I'll probably turn the radio off shortly. As you can hear, there's all sorts of traffic in the area, and the VTS radio, it's the Vessel Traffic Services. Their radio covers area, I would probably think, somewhere in 20 miles.
Sorry, Frank. Bluefin, Mercurius.
Listen, hello, good evening to you, sir.
Well, evening. If it's okay with you, I'm just going to drop on the western edge of 203 just to stand on that container ship.
No problem. You stick on the post what's going on. I'll stick it down on the reds here, so no problems at all on the very corner. Sure, thanks for your call.
Yeah, as I was just about to say, the VTS radio covers a large area all the way to the east of the Isle of Wight. We're about sort of 20 miles worth, so we end up hearing an awful lot of traffic that I can't actually see. Eventually, I'll turn it off because it does start to grate slightly, and then they start chatting about what they're having for dinner. Don't really want to hear. Did I see, what did Robert say? I saw Robert, Anthem Seas going back to Ocean Dock. Oh, really? I didn't realise that, Robert. I thought she was off out. Oh, so that means I still have an opportunity to drone her. Well, that would be great. I mean, it doesn't look like it at the moment, but it was a little bit windy, so... hoping I'd be able to do it, and it was too dark this morning, so that'll be great. I particularly like the Anthem of the Seas. I got a photograph, I think that's the photograph on the port camera thumbnail. That's the Anthem of the Seas with the little tiny capsule at the top of the ship. Beautiful feature. I'm just checking the actual websites where she is actually going. Sometimes it says something. No, I can't find it. Yes, so yes, this is quite unusual to have the two cruise ships leaving quite close together. It's been a while since we've seen this sort of activity, but when we get to actual cruising season, be like this a lot more. We'll have a bit of a traffic jam going on. And in fact, there's normally one day every year where we have 10 cruise ships in port. I'm going to have to seriously consider what I'm going to do about a live stream there, because if there's 10 ships in port, they're leaving every, well, let's say they leave a little gap between them of 20 minutes, half an hour or so. You've got to arrive in the morning and leave in the afternoon. I could be live streaming for 4 or 5 hours straight. I won't be live streaming for that long. Maybe you do, I don't know. Or it'll be a challenge. A marathon live stream. That's a quick look. Who else? Oh, Christine Keith. Ahoy there. Ahoy, Keith Ellery. Love your channel. Oh, you'll be sailing Southampton in June 2022. Oh, I thought you were going to be June this year, 2022. Well, great stuff. Great to know.
Ready to go. Thank you. On Capitan, inbound tanker Boeing, past notice point. And outbound is Grand Legacy, Western Shell. Next departure is Anthem of the Seas from 101, followed by Queen Elizabeth from 106.
Ferries, SB trackers, why do I have a radio so that I can hear what's going on?
Yes, absolutely. We're sailing up now, 101.
Anthem of the Seas, thank you.
I don't know if you caught that. The Anthem of the Seas is singling up. That means she's going down to a couple of lines. I'm actually going to turn the radio off now, unfortunately, because it's become too noisy. There we go. Radio is off, but if there's anything exciting happening, Robert will keep us informed. Yes, it's very important to have a radio if you're out in the water. Important for safety reasons, obviously. If you have a problem, you can call the radio in. It's also important to know what's going on in port. Sort of like Google for the water. Oh, Hoy CNS, you like hearing the radio? Well, I'm glad you said that. Unfortunately, I've just turned it off. Because there won't be much more information that Anthem of the Seas is singled up. Yes, I think you're right there, Lee. No, they don't actually have much of a conversation on there. They're all very clipped most of the time. It's very much for business purposes. Oh, Daniel saying you miss hearing VTS, you only get to Dover Coast Guard. Ah. Well, actually, Daniel, as it happens, I have sent an email to Ofcom to check the actual legality of rebroadcasting radio. I've not read anything that says it's illegal, although I haven't read anything that says it is legal. So I'll do it just sparingly for the moment. I'll hopefully, if it is possible to do it, I will intend to have the radio going all the time on one of the cameras. So that any time you look at one of the cameras, you'll be able to hear the radio at the same time. It's actually quite helpful to hear what's going on. Joe M, you sound like Richard Osman. I'm hoping that's a compliment. I don't know who Richard Osman is. We won't see past cows with that haze, will we? Oh, that's a good point. Actually, that's a good point. It was earlier. Let's have a quick look on. Quick look down here. We've got the Grande Legacy leaving. Oh, that's pretty good visibility, if you ask me. All the way down to Cowshot there. Way over to the Isle of Wight. That's not bad. We've had some very hazy days, but I'd say that's pretty good pretty good visibility. Especially considering Anthem of the Sea's size, I'm sure we'll see her all the way around to the Isle of Wight. No problem at all. And you can see here the little white caps on the waves. That just gives you an indication of how windy it has been today. Certainly seen an increase in pleasure boat activity as well. I'm suspecting that it was going to be very busy at the weekend. I think it's actually very clear. We can see right over onto the Isle of Wight. In fact, one of our spanners lives over near Cowes. One of our moderators on the live chat channel. And when it's really clear one day, I'm going to see if I can see him in his back garden. He's asked me not to zoom in too closely. Okay, let's have a look back. Gosh, there's a lot of chat going on here, isn't there? Robert says, Anthem ceased to move and back to Ocean Terminal and turn there. Ah, okay, right, so, okay. Turning on Ocean Terminal. Oh, interesting. A bit of backward shipment.
Thank you very much.
The bluefin, is he dredging up on the 203 corner there, working until everyone's moved out of the way and then going out later?
Yes, I'll ask him to wait for everybody before he is out.
I think you've got that the only 130 crew on board. They were talking about the bluefin. We're talking about the bluefin, which is just in the sort of left-hand corner of the screen there. Red local treasure. Making sure that she wasn't coming round, planning on manoeuvring. Right, let's get back. Where were we? Yes, oh, sorry, I was just been distracted there. I was distracted. Sounds like a good idea, Captain. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, but you want to see the RRS James Cook? Yeah, we could have a quick look at the RRS James Cook because nothing's actually moving up there just yet. Just if we go back to back here and check. Yeah, there's just the bluefin in the background. Cook is a research ship. He is just over in Empress Dock, where the other day we had Bill Gates' tender. I'm just trying to find these. I don't think she's gone. Not sure I can find her, shipmate, sorry. Right. Don't know where she is. But it's very clear on Southampton water, so that'll be all important for following ships further on. Yeah, I mean, that's really clear today. That's very impressive. Oh, Joanne, what time is the Anthem due out? She's due out 15 minutes ago. And she's singled up, so she will be moving any moment now, I would say. Any moment now. But she might even be moving very slowly, but we just can't see it. Richard Osman was the sidekick to Alexander Armstrong in the quiz show Pointless. Ah, I've not seen that. I've not seen that, so maybe I should check it out. Is this a compliment or is it an insult? Either way, I don't mind. It's not a problem. Oh, Robert says Anthem on the Seas. Anthem on the Seas is on the move. Well, there you go. I would have thought so. But they start to move very slowly. Lovely pink container ship in the background there. I'll pause on this briefly. The One Swan. Slightly saddened by this now. Actually, I've just discovered that I'm just trying to turn the radio off for myself. Can't quite work out where the radio is coming from. Still in my ears. Yes, unfortunately, the one container ship line with lovely magenta containers from the middle of June not coming to Southampton anymore, going to London. Bit of a shame, because I enjoy the one lines with their Genta container ships. It certainly brings a sparkle of colour to a potentially grey port. They're instead going to London. But on the plus side, we get the HMM ships, which are the biggest container ships in the world. And one particularly I'd like to see is the HMM Southampton. There's a good chance, I would say, when the HMM Southampton comes into port, which I don't think she's been in before, she'll be greeted with tugs with water and all that sort of exciting thing. So that'll be quite an event. Okay, let's go and have a look. Can't see an movement, could be very slow, very slow. Okay, what's going on here in the chats? Who we got aboard? Lynn P's looking forward to seeing things doing well. Thank you, Lynn. It's not often we see Anthem season. If she's off to Gibraltar, I'm guessing we may not see her again for some time. It's a little sad that I've not actually managed to get a drone in. Oh, Dave Jakins watched both ships come in this morning. Yeah, it was very clear this morning. That was good to watch. Anthem the Seas is going to Bournemouth. Tina Bet says, well, some people are saying Bournemouth and some people are saying Gibraltar, and I don't know because I can't find out any information. Oh well. Yeah, who knows? Who knows where they're going? Oh, Chris Shark says HMM Southampton was in London Gateway last week. Yes, she's in and out regularly to London Gateway. Oh, there's a nice little someone out there. Look, someone out there having a nice little afternoon out in their powerboat. Gin and tonic or rum and shrub. I think rum and shrub would be my preference. Back and check on the Anthem. Nope, still there. Hasn't disappeared yet. Oh, ahoy there, Emma Harrison, the perfect business partner. Oh, and ahoy, Elliot Zettersfeld Karlsson from Sweden. Oh, I think you're the first Swedish person I've had on board. I've taken many a trip to Malmo. Not sure where you're based in Sweden. Might be in Malmo, or you probably where else. Perhaps Bournemouth then Gibraltar, says Jonathan Ward. Well, could be right. I don't know when Anthem of the Seas is going to start cruising. As current information is that the MSC, one of the MSC cruise ships, I think it's the one we haven't seen before in port, because it will be a maiden voyage from port. That'll be the Grandiosa or the Virtuosa. Virtuosa, there we go. The MSC Virtuosa, I believe, is going to be the first passenger ship to leave port, and it's her maiden voyage. So that is going to be a stunning sight to see, because I imagine we're going to have some fair and pomp and circumstance. If we're lucky, we might get a firework display. Actually, if we have a firework display, that's not very drone compatible, is it? Think about that. Oh, some definite movement now from Anthem of the Seas. Get some good shots though with a firework display on from the drone. Ooh, do I risk the drone firework display? Well, it can't be any worse than oyster catchers, can they? The oyster catcher. Tina Bet says is going to Gibraltar. Oh yeah, Gibraltar seems to be the destination. Well, there we go. Start to see that it's a lot of ship. Get it all in. Enough, is it? Great big wall of ship. If you're ever in the port of Southampton and the cruise ships are in, they really changed the scenery. Walking down some of the streets, what normally gives you a clear view across the water ends up being a view of the side of a massive cruise ship. It's certainly entertaining. Oh, ahoy there, Daniel's Life. Yes. Why does Robert keep getting deleted? I don't know. I'm having some problems at the moment with Google's moderating team. Maybe a bit overzealously active, deleting comments from people. We could make Robert a spanner, couldn't we? Certainly handy on the radio. There's quite a few people in Mayflower Park today as well, watching ship leave. Although not as many people picnicking as there before. I mean, the sun is strong and good, but the wind, unfortunately, has been coming up Southampton water, and I think that lends itself to an uncomfortable barbecuing experience. Just coming to view there on the top right is that capsule I was talking about that lifts up into the sky. Can't remember now, but I believe I read somewhere that it's higher than the Empire State Building or something like that. There is something involving the Empire State Building. As long as the Empire State Building, heavy as the Empire State Building, I don't know. It's certainly a big ship. 347 metres long. That definitely puts her right up there in the category of whoppers. Gross tonnage of 168,000. Again, that's very impressive. Its capacity of almost 4,200 passengers. Maximum capacity with almost 5,000. We have some hornage action there, just to confirm that she's going backwards. It launched in February of 2015. Fairly young in the scheme of cruise ships. Top speed of 22 knots. Looks to me, not mistaken, there's a giraffe on board. Yes, there is. A giraffe with a rubber ring on, just in case he falls overboard. Lose your giraffe, would you? Can't see anyone on the balconies. A few people on the rear though. Stern there on the... Difficult to say, there's only crew on board, but there's a lot of crew on board. And a couple there on the stern, enjoying the view. Maybe they'll give us a wave. Don't see any actually balconies. Potentially not quite as elegant as some of the other liners, more in the entertainment ship, I suppose, rather than a cruise liner. Jonathan Ward said, is Mayflower Park named after the famous pilgrim ship? It is indeed. It is indeed named after the famous pilgrim ship. There's lots of references to it here. That is that fact where it sailed from. People erroneously talk about Plymouth. To call into Plymouth because it was leaking and falling apart. It doesn't lead you much confidence, does it, to travel all the way across the Atlantic in a wooden boat powered by sails when you get to Plymouth and it's not working very well. I think I would may have got off in Plymouth. Bright shadow here. Nigel Dean, you're in Mayflower Park to get some tug photos. Excellent. Yes, good ship spotting. If you are fancying a bit of ship spotting, the Mayflower Park is a great location. Especially if you know when the ships are coming past. You get a fantastic view of them coming past. If you want a slightly different view, you can go over to Hyde and you can see them coming in. That's also a good location. Hyde's a lovely little village. Town Quay, end of Town Quay is very good if they're coming into 44 berth. That's a really good location. Or if you want to see all sorts of general shipping traffic, if you go all the way down to the end of Southampton Water, where Cowshot Castle is, you can see them. You can actually get really close when they come past. It's a very narrow bit of water, and you get a really good view. And also you'll see lots of pleasure ships coming and going, pleasure boats and yachts, and the whole solid's full of it. So probably I would say, if you're new to the area, that's probably a good place to start your spotting. Look at this capsule. There are a few people on board. And once the cruise has started up, you'll actually see all of these balconies have people on there waving. Well, that capsule there, you can get on board that capsule. All mechanism lifts up right up into the sky and offers you an incredibly high view. In fact, once you're in that, you're afforded a view just like you would be from my drone. Very good. As you can see, she's showing off this evening by reversing all the way around, as Robert correctly predicted. Chris Sharks, are they heading out one after? Yes, I believe they are. I believe they're going to the same places, but they'll be heading out. Queen Elizabeth is singling up. Thank you for that, Robert. I won't spin the camera around because even if she's singled up, we won't see her for some time. I'd imagine if the timing's good, while the Anthem of the Seas is hiding behind the grain stores at the end of the dockhead, we can whiz back and have a look at Queen Elizabeth, and then when she comes out the other side. So it should be good. We should get some continuous coverage. Let's have a look. Oh, ahoy, Pani Kartoffel from Glenville, New York State. Oh, thank you. Mayflower sailed for Deptford originally. Okay, Hoof, let's not get too technical. We know you're a library of information. Sean Dunn, planning on watching all the cruise ships? Yes, May the 20th. May the 20th will be the big day. I'm planning a super coverage on May the 20th. I've decided to push out the technological boat, so to speak, and allow myself even more extensive coverage. Probably how the best way I can put it politely, or more likely, many more ways to make it go wrong. You don't try, you don't learn, do you? That'll be May the 20th, and I would imagine it's going to be a late afternoon, early evening departure. It'll be in the light, which is good. Although it is a maiden voyage. Oh, no, that's a good point. It could be maiden voyage. It could be nighttime with fireworks. Oh, interesting. I'll have to see. I'll have to keep informed on that one. Who else? What else have we got here? Steve Donovan says, even better location, Miami South Beach. Miami South Beach, I'm sure. Wonderful location, better weather, of course. Oh, Linus, you say the anchor from the actual Mayflower used to be at the roundabout. Oh, well, I didn't know that one. I shall maybe try and find out. I've not seen it before. Victor Tilson, this is one of the ships I want to try and cruise on. Well, I'd certainly think you'd have an experience. I think it's one of the biggest, actually, not quite the biggest, but certainly one of the biggest. I don't think you'd have a quiet time on board. I mean, there's all sorts of exciting things. There's even a skydiving simulator on board. take it to the next level. There's the rock climbing, which I think is up. The rock climbing's up by the. Rock climbing's up here. There's a rock climbing wall up by the raft that's afraid to swim. Oh, there you go. There's a couple of people on their balcony. We'll go with people. See, surfing simulator, solarium, theatre, casino. Oh, getting some nice reflection off the windows at the moment. In fact, when she turns round, we could get some really nice reflection. She'll turn around just behind Townkeep here, and we should get a really good view when she turns around. I just realised I don't see any of the comments. Right, so, where have you gone? There you go, you're all back again. Oh, Emma the Perfect Business Partner, you'll be in Southampton on 20th of May. Well, I think you've picked a good day to come into port. Are you going on the ship, Emma? Or are you just coming in for a bit of ship spotting? Oh, someone's asking what are the ships doing? Well, they come into ports to refuel, restock with food, and the essential rum, of course. Maybe change over a few shipmates. There's no passengers on board, but they can't stay in port too long because it's super, super expensive. But they'll come into port, refuel, stock up, and then go and drop anchor in a sheltered bay along the south coast for a week or two, and then they will do the same thing again and keep repeating. So it's had an endless stream of cruise ships coming and going with no passengers, which is very unusual. Very unusual to see some of these ships as well, because normally they've got routes to follow, so they'll come into port and then go off and do their route. And sometimes, if they're on a world cruise, we don't see them for another year or two. But yeah, we've had a complete cycle recently of ships coming and going. Oh, Raymond Dickinson, you've had 3 cruises cancelled on the Anthem. Oh, gosh, I'm not surprised. I mean, I wouldn't want to be running a business at the moment. It'd be difficult. Cruise ship business, all those bookings cancelling. Very, very hard work. Well, Chris Woodgate said he's obviously not passed the 3-point turn test yet. Well, that's maybe true. He may not have passed his 3-point test, but I would consider reversing a cruise ship this size and also equally impressive feat, frankly. See, now she's the Townkeep here. So Townkeep here is obscuring her. A quick check on check on Queen Elizabeth, see if we can see anything. No, still off to the right somewhere. Can't see it just yet, so we'll just carry on following the Anthem of the Seas. Ah, Robert says she's going to the upper swing ground. I thought she would be. I thought she'd be going to the upper swing ground. Used to be. What I haven't worked out is why sometimes they go up to the upper swing ground first. Sometimes they're port side too, and other times they're starboard side too. I guess it could be a maintenance thing. Maybe they need to maintain different sizes of ships. I know they do that for the lifeboats. Oh, Emma's coming for a holiday and ship spotting. Oh, well done, Emma. If you're in Mayflower Park then, when on the May 20th, you'll have to give us a wave and we'll look out for you. Stuart Leatham, does it say fuel by going backwards? No, I'm pretty sure it doesn't say fuel by going backwards. It'll be more of a tactical manoeuvre. I could say where she was, it's a little bit tight manoeuvre, I would say. I have seen some cruise ships turn at the Mayflower Park, but I think Anthem possibly is a little too big. I mean, she's just massive, isn't she? Then she's going to come down here and swing here. Started swinging around. Joe M says Wendover Productions on YouTube does a good episode on cruise ship burn rates. Well, I don't know what they are, but I can tell you for one thing, they're horrendous. I think I calculated it, something like 1 gallon of fuel is enough to propel it 10 yards or something. Can't remember now what the figures were. Not very far. Very, very fuel inefficient. But I guess there are there's almost 5,000 passengers on board and 2,000 or 3,000 crew. That's 7,000 people. Work it out, which I haven't. I imagine that's probably more efficient than your average Ford Focus, considering. Lewis Troxler, which one did the horn? I would have thought it was Anthem of the Seas. She was indicating that she was reversing. I could hear. I didn't quite hear it. I had my headphones on, and I can't hear it, fortunately. But that would be my expectation. Paul Waterman says your brother went on this ship and got very drunk for 2 weeks. He had a good time. Start to swing here. Ahoy, Etienne. Are we going to try and zoom in on your back garden at some point? The new Odyssey is already visited the UK. Ah, okay. Emma will be waving at the cameras every day. Well, okay, that's good to know, Emma. I'll be looking out for you. Oh, ahoy there from Amy Burke from Utah, USA. Love these views. Anyone have any tips to get over being afraid to go on a cruise? Well, that's a really good question, actually. Why would you be afraid to go on a cruise ship? I mean, I can think of many reasons. Being on a ship is possibly one of them. Can't swim. They're so large, it's not like being on a small dinghy. I guess you might not like the number of people on board, because there are an awful lot of people. Cabins are quite small, you could be claustrophobic. If you've got one of the indoor cabins with no windows, that might be pretty awful. But also, actually, I've seen on some of the latest cruise ships, the indoor cabins don't have portholes. But they do have a screen which shows you what's going past outside on the wall. You get the illusion of a window, you don't have one. Pretty terrific. Go across. The cruise cam across. Ready for a bit of a close-up. That's a bit. Get a good view of the stern on cruise. There we go. Yep, you can see the friendly giraffe again. Yeah, they don't need tugs. I've had this question before. Someone said, "Oh, they don't have tugs." They don't. They have a Azipod drive system rear, unlike the commercial ships. And they can manoeuvre their propellers around, which makes them a lot more manoeuvrable. They can turn around a lot more easily, and they've got good bow thrusters. They don't need tugs. Like a lot of the ports they come into need much more manoeuvrability than a commercial ship, which wouldn't go into these small islands. So we do see them with tugs occasionally, and that's often when the wind speed picks up. If it is very windy in port, they'll be employing the services of tugs. I imagine the size of these vessels can act a bit like a big sail. Lovely view down the side here. Fiona Parker, what's the draft for? Beats me. I do not know. Perhaps they don't even know why it's there. It just arrived. AM Vanquish asks, is this one of the largest cruise ships in the world? Yes, it is one of the largest cruise ships in the world. It is one of the largest. I don't think it's the largest, but it's semantics. Only a few passengers here, there, or a few meters. It is one of the largest. Oh, Emma Harrison, you're planning on taking a cruise next year? Well, you'll be very well informed by the time you go. And if you do go on a cruise to Southampton, Emma, you know what you have to do. Give us a little wave from your balcony. Arthur, did you miss the first one? No, this is the first one, Arthur. Queen Elizabeth is at the other end of the dock. Be turning around and we'll catch her. We can't see her at the moment. She's hidden behind the building and cameras. A straight shot here down. You see, this has got quite an interesting side. You can't really appreciate it when you're looking at the side, but the balconies all swoop around, so that leads to different vistas. Yes, look at that. Get a perfect view of that giraffe. Somebody should be able to say. Someone must have been. There must be somebody watching who has been on the Anthem of the Seas. Has anyone been on the Anthem of the Seas? And if no one has, the next person that goes on the Anthem of the Seas, I know what the giraffe's about. Send us a picture, and I shall put it up on the channel next time. Georgie says you barely ever see tugs in Southampton. Oh, you need to watch the channel more, Georgie. There's tugs all the time. There's busy little things running around. It's like tugs galore here sometimes. And I'm not quite sure why. It's a bit like buses. We've had a couple of days this week of hardly any traffic in port. And then today it's just gone mad. Cruise ships arriving, magenta container ships, all sorts of ro-ros coming and going. It's very good. I get a good view here of the wing bridge. I'll zoom up into that. I know. Nonetheless, there we go. Now that's these little winglets here from the bridge. That's the bridge of the ship. So that's where you've got the officers. That sticks out the side of the ship, so you can see what's going on the side. It's handy for docking, manoeuvring, and so on. I've had a few viewers of the channel have got connections in the cruise industry. A couple of people have even got brothers or partners or something, actually captains. I've asked, I said, next time they're in the Port of Southampton, I said, could I get a little VIP tour of the bridge? Didn't reply. No, they didn't actually. They said they'll see what they can do. Pretty stunning, a VIP tour of the bridge of one of these ships. A good view of that globe viewer at the top as well. I'll have a quick nip back, shall we? Queen Elizabeth's there just yet. Oh, she's just coming into view. Ever so slightly just coming into view. There we go. So she's at the other end of the port, next to the once one, the magenta container ship. So she's going to go up here and turn around really slowly. And like I say, it's a bit of a shame. It's a long way away, and it's a bit sort of hazy. It's not quite as good. So let's just go back to the Anthem of the Seas because she's be on her way. There she goes, slipping past. That's in the background there. That's the very background's New Forest, and more closer to us here is the Hythe Hythe is a lovely little village in the New Forest. And this is Hythe Marina, these little houses you can see there. Well, I say little, that's a bit of an understatement. Great houses if you like to watch what's going on in the water. And they also come with berths as well. So if you've got your own little boat, you've got somewhere to berth it. Excellent. Lewis the Travel Spotter, I love the lift. I would certainly be, that would probably be my first port of call on the ship, would be the lift. Yep, Matt King says, yeah, that's right, we see the togs all the time. Belinda Scott asks, where is Anthem going? I'm not sure if anyone's answered, but Gibraltar is the answer to that one. Emma Housen, your boss has been on Lure of the Seas. Excellent. You'll have to one-up them and go on the Anthem of the Seas as well then. Will they wait for each other further out? No, they won't. They won't wait for each other, but they will be travelling at the same sort of speed, so there'll be a sort of procession out around the Isle of Wight. You can go in two directions around the Isle of Wight, clockwise or anti-clockwise, but they'll be going clockwise. Anti-clockwise, going through the Needles Passage, is a bit narrow. I can zoom in again on that observation buoy. Or not observation buoy, whatever it's called. Floating observation deck. Focus, focus, focus. There we go. Oh, it even says Anthem of the Seas on the sort of inside of the yoke. Well, that's really quite good, isn't it? I did read somewhere that it, like I say, it is quite high. I don't remember that information. It was the first time she came into port some years ago. I remember reading about her. And I think all the local press was invited on board. That's before I started this little channel up. Which, incidentally, doing really rather well, I think. I appreciate all you for coming along and watching what goes on in the Port of Southampton. And if you do enjoy this content and you want to be notified of what happens in the future, specifically on May the 20th for the first maiden voyage of MSC Virtuosa with passengers on board, subscribe. Oh, Terence Sharp, how many passengers on the Queen? I'm sure Robert said somewhere, but I think it was somewhere in the region of 150. It wasn't as many as Anthem. For some. I quite know why Anthem's got so many. Oh, Beverly Judka, your mother went on Anthem of the Seas to New Jersey. It's probably the best way to get to New Jersey. Beverly Judka, is this ship 100% full? No, it's no passengers on this ship at all, Beverly. None at all. Philip Bull, normally first port of call on the ship is the cafeteria. Yeah, probably that makes sense, I suppose, if you've been travelling. Need to get some refreshments. I'd probably make a stop by the rum bar. I'm a sort of single-minded idiot in that respect. Right, so I'm going to go back now to Queen Elizabeth, because she's just up the other end, giving us a bit of a spin. So we'll watch that. It would like to unfreeze. Come on. There we go. Just in time. Look at that. Oh, it's almost like I planned these things. Oh, Lewis the Traveller, will there be some horns for listen to? I'm sure there'll be plenty of horns and fireworks and all sorts. Yes, I'm going to make sure we have good sound, good vision, and so-so commentary, I'd imagine. So I am going to push out the technological boat. We've got the 3 cameras here in port. Well, the 4 cameras, I suppose, including Ferry Cam, although I don't tend to use that one for the broadcasts, but we've got the 3 cameras. But I'm looking at installing another camera And maybe trying a few other things which they may well stretch my abilities to the limit. But I think it'll be worth it. I've often surprised how quickly these cruise ships turn. I've seen Queen Elizabeth here is spinning around. I mean, that is a mighty speedy spin, wouldn't you say? I don't know if they spin that fast when there's passengers on board. Maybe they spin faster because there's no one on board. You'll have to tell me. I've not... it's been so long since I've seen passengers on board these ships, I've forgotten what it's like. So I don't... although I think it's the MSC Virtuoso is the first one, I'm fairly confident that I don't know what the second cruise ship is. I suppose I should look into that, really, shouldn't I? And I think it's going to be a while before we reach the levels of cruising that we experienced before lockdown. Although from what I'm reading, a lot of the cruise ship companies said they've been inundated with bookings. I could be wrong. First time. Although you can see here now, this gives you a good perspective of how the dock actually goes behind this building. So you can't even see where the ship's docked or moored. And that's the city terminal down that way, the city cruise terminal. And in fact the port is actually building a new cruise terminal, which is due to open, I think it's next year. And there is actually a competition running at the moment to see who would like to name it. And if you win the competition, you get to name the cruise ship terminal, the new cruise ship terminal. I've already had my guess at cruise terminal. Suspect that'll be rejected, which is a shame. What's the date of the inaugural MSC? It's May the 20th. Don't worry, once it's all confirmed up, I'll make sure we know way in advance. Has the Mardi Gras been to Southampton? I don't know if the Mardi Gras... Oh, Katie White says she does spin fast with passengers. Oh, well, there we go. Answer my question. That's great, isn't it? It's great there's so many knowledgeable shipmates on board here. Oh, good to have you on board. Kath Kike from Maine. We're just looking at the Queen Elizabeth now. She's at the far end of the port, turning round. And the Anthem of the Seas is behind the car park to the far end of the dock. And comes back past the other side. I'll cut across and we'll spin around. Oh, it's due to open this summer, the new terminal's backing. Yeah, okay. You know what, it's probably been so long ago since it was started and everything's been delayed that my whole sort of mind has been delayed due to the pandemic. Everything's sort of moved across. Oh, ahoy, Paul Hawkins. Love the channel. Well, glad you do, shipmate. Not sure if the sunset's going to be particularly spectacular this evening. We had a spectacular moon last night. Pretty much this view here, behind us in the cranes, there was a massive moon came sailing down through the sky, and I've recorded that, so I'm going to... that's my library of interesting shots. Yeah, somewhat here in the shadow of the sunset at the moment. Fortunate. Still waiting for the anthem to pop out the other side. Still there. Oh, Lynn P is coming through with some valuable information. The giraffe is called Gigi, or Gigi. Oh, probably Gigi, I'd imagine. And is by Jean-François Fortu. 32 feet tall. And is on the boat because she, as the maker, likes to put things outside its natural context. Wow. Amazing. 32 feet tall. No wonder you can see it for a long time. Get to see Queen Elizabeth spin around, and then she'll probably just be on the side of the picture for a while, and then she'll come forward. Probably while she's on the side of the picture, if we're lucky, we can shoot over and see Anthem of the Seas again. Ahoy there, Glenn GM from Chessington in Surrey, a fairly local boy. I see we had one viewer from Sweden, and there was a couple from the States. Is there any other overseas viewers? Most of my audience is UK based. 75% statistically, according to YouTube, are based in the UK. You'd have quite a few from New Zealand as well. Which perplexes me, I'm not quite sure why. Lewis Charles, well, can I zoom in on the horns? I can't really zoom in on horns as such. You mean audio-wise or visually? Belinda Scott, I've been watching Pier Runners. Oh, that's quite entertaining, isn't it? The old Pier Runners. Well, just as I predicted, the Queen Elizabeth is just about to go off, but we can have a nip back here and see what's going on with the Anthem of the Seas. It certainly is a lovely, clear weather. Now she's down in Southampton water, she'll be picking up speed to, I would imagine, somewhere in the region of 12-15 knots. And she'll go around this bit of land here, which you can just see that building on. Then she'll zigzag around Bramble Bank in the Solent and go off on out to Gibraltar. Oh, ahoy there, Doug LeBoot from Denver, Colorado. Oh, we've got Angela Parkhouse from Calgary, Canada, Canadian viewer. Welcome aboard, shipmate. Wookie Redneck from Virginia, USA. Oh, we've got some Americans on board. I guess it's a good time for you Americans, isn't it? It's too late at night, just lovely early in the morning. Oh, you want me to visually zoom in on the horns? Okay, I'll give it a go. Give it a go. Ahoy, Wayne and Suzanne in Brattleboro, Vermont, USA. Oh, ahoy, Woodkorski from Poland. Don't think I've had a Polish view before. Oh, and ahoy, Dogodog 200 Gypsy from Norway, Norwegians. Excellent. A variety of international shipmates. Quite amusing when you see that yacht there, which is probably quite a large yacht, completely dwarfed. Oh, it's a little catamaran, having a good old time on that wind. Actually, it looks like the sea state has eased slightly. Let's have a look. Someone else from Shirley. No, that's very good. Oh, from Prague. Oh, nice works from Prague. Oh, ahoy there, shipmates. Where else do we have? Someone else from Greensboro, Vermont. Oh, Lisa W. from Oklahoma. Going on Anthem of the Seas next year. Excellent. Where are you sailing from? The Port of Southampton, or are you sailing from somewhere else? Airwave 34. Ahoy, shipmate. Yes, we keep a stock of cruise ships and liners here in Weymouth. Yeah, that's true. It's going to be very strange when they stop calling in at Weymouth, isn't it? They're really quite pleasant to see out at sea. Changing views, but all disappearing. 11.8 knots. Thank you, shipmate, for informing me of the speed. It's normally sort of typical speed. I do about 13, 14. They don't want to go too fast. They have to manoeuvre around Cowshot and around Bramblebank, and they'll probably stick to that sort of speed, I'd imagine. Although she's going to Gibraltar, so she might pick up some speed. The faster you go, the more expensive it is in fuel. Ahoy, Tim Maynard from sunny Lancing. The Anthem of the Seas is just dipping behind one of these car parks. There we go. This is an opportunity to explain the view. You can see in the centre. Actually, go across a bit further. There we go. That's one of the far left-hand picture of the corner. That white silhouette in the distance. That is the ferry from Portsmouth to Fishbourne. Quite a long way away. White Link ferry. Be more of a Red Link company. Red Funnel in Port of Southampton. So we don't tend to discuss White Link too much. The Anthem of the Sea's just gone past the oil refinery terminal. There's normally 4 or 5 tankers parked up there. And in the bay background is the Isle of Wight. And there is a very thin tower there, which I've been trying to work out quite what it is. Daniel San and I think it may well be the tower of a monastery. But I'm not 100% convinced, although it does look... It's about the right location, it just looks too thin in the picture. But anyway, that's the Isle of Wight, which is somewhere in the region of about 12 miles away. So that gives you some idea of the zoom of this camera. But it's actually quite a clear night, because even if the conditions aren't quite so clear, it's surprising how the visibility shortens. Chris Shark said the haze was shocking this morning. I didn't see it, unfortunately. I was otherwise occupied with other matters. I was up early, though. I was up at 5:30, so I did see it was nice and clear for the ships arriving, but I didn't see what it was like later in the morning. Queen Elizabeth is now getting very close on the other side. I'm going to stay with it just a second longer. No, actually, I'm going to flick across. Annoyingly, there's a crane just to the left of the screen here. Yes, annoyingly, there's a crane here just left of the screen. So while the Anthem of the Seas is behind the crane, let's go back and check on the Queen Elizabeth. No, that's not. Wrong direction. Try this direction. There we go. More cameras than I know what to do with. Yep, so you turn around now, coming this way. And you can see how, if you fancied a bit of ship spotting, that Mayflower Park is actually a good location. Also got our regular ice cream van there as well, so keep you nutritionally supported with a 99 and a can of Coke. Arlene VT's considering a 30th anniversary cruise on Crown Princess from Southampton. Oh, well, Arlene, I would definitely give that a go. And if you are on a cruise ship coming out of Southampton, just give us a wave from your port. Your cabin, rather. Port. Daniel says, the Abbey looks like a rocket. It does it? Okay. I sort of looked on Google and did a bit of research, and I wasn't convinced, but you reckon it looks like a rocket. Oh, you're probably right. It's the right location. It just looked a bit too thin visually, but then I suppose it is 15 miles away, so it's probably optically distorting and doesn't look quite the same as it does in real life. A trip to the Isle of Wight then, Daniel Sand, to check that out. Maybe a quick camera installation. Of course, there's the next expansion of the channel, to install a couple more cameras around the place. I have a few locations in mind. Happy to expand the coverage further around the coast, but still in the Solent region. Now, although the Queen Elizabeth is quite a large ship, quite a bit smaller than the Anthem of the Seas. Anthem of the Seas has a approximate cost of $940 million US, whereas the Queen Elizabeth is a snippet, only 350 million. The Queen Elizabeth was launched in January of 2010, so it's making her 11 years old. She's got a length of 294 metres, whereas Anthem of the Seas is 347, so quite a bit longer. But I think probably the gross tonnage makes a big difference. 168,000 gross tons for Anthem of the Seas, and the Queen Elizabeth is 90,000 gross tons. So the Anthem of the Seas is almost twice the gross tonnage, which really shows, I think, in the bulk of the vessel. Queen Elizabeth has more of a traditional cruise liner shape, though people will get annoyed if I say that she is a cruise liner, because not a cruise liner, more into the cruise ship category. I think it's more to do with the speed of the vessels these days. If you're a cruise liner, you're a faster vessel, cruise across the Atlantic quickly from Southampton to New York. Don't have quite so many rafts and swimming pools aboard. And typically the cruise liners tend to have a slightly more elegant look. I think the Queen Elizabeth's not a bad looking ship. Possibly not quite as elegant as the Queen Mary II. And she's only got a capacity for 2,500 passengers, so almost half the passengers to the Anthem of the Seas. That's all different cruising experience. I'm sure there must be a couple of shipmates who have been on Elizabeth. I've lost the chat again. Here we go, back in the chat again. That's quite nice sunset. I think it could well be in for a good sunset. Beverly Judge misses cruising so much. Oh, your son's starting college and wants to work on a cruise ship. I can't think of a better way to start one's career. Working on a cruise ship, travelling the world. It's a great way to see the world. There's a tug in the background, is there? Max says there's a tug spotters around. Well, we do have some interesting tugs in port. We have a steam tug. If you care to look for my drone videos, you'll find there is a video of the ST Challenge which came past briefly the other day. We just managed to catch a steam tug. That's quite a lovely vessel, run by a society, volunteers and enthusiasts. And then tomorrow we've also got the steamship Shield Hall going out for, I would imagine, a warm-up and training for the coming season. She's an older ship that's, again, run by a society enthusiast. She's available for hire for private functions, different events, so they obviously need to make sure that she's properly working and all the crew are trained. We have something here every year called Cows Week, which is over on the Isle of Wight. We just can't quite see cows. During Cows Week, there are a incredible number of yacht races going on. Really exciting. Does that look like there's a bit of paint damage on the side there? It does, doesn't it? Do you think she's rubbed up against something when she was parking? Curious. Anyway, like I was saying, the Cowswick's very busy. And they have a big fireworks display at the end of Cowswick's race. What's going on? Shield Hall is available for hire, so you can go onto Shield Hall and get a really good view. Firework display from Cows, and it's a great event. You have often there's a couple of aircraft flying over the acrobatic display, and they'll fly right over the boat as you're moored in just off of Cows. Excellent. Oh, ahoy there, Liam Monks from Salford. Oh, ahoy, Alexander Gruppy. Queen Elizabeth is your favourite ship. Excellent. Tomorrow, good win. Yep, all notifications on. Good job, shipmate. Good job. Can't see any crew on this. This is Queen Elizabeth. Just checking. Chris Shuck, Disney Magic's gone back to Dover. Yeah, we don't often get the Disney ships in here. I don't. Oh, there we go. There's some shipmates enjoying, for probably not much longer, the luxury of a customer cabin. They'll be down in the lower decks in the crew cabins, but I believe they've all been allowed access to a slightly more comfortable accommodation during this lockdown. Although we're getting quite used to having that spacious cabin with a view. In case you're wondering where the Anthem of the Seas is. Red funnel here. Quick look at the Anthem of the Sea. The Anthem of the Seas is behind the crane. Gets in the way there, but it really is quite clear all the way down to Isle of Wight. Very active windsurfers. I hope they're keeping a good watch and making sure they don't hit the Anthem of the Seas. Oh, hi there, Tony Pierce from Vancouver, Canada. One of my favourite cities, Vancouver. Frequently voted the most, the best place in the world to live. Looks like there's a naughty boy there, speeding past. Speeding past. Very restricted to 6 knots here, and he's definitely going faster than 6 knots, that little chap there. And I better hope that the harbour police aren't about, otherwise they'll be fining him. Yes, is Vancouver still rated as the best place in the world to live? No, it's always up there. If it's not number 1, it's number 2. Oh, Paul Warren says, a few years ago you watched Harmony of the Seas depart Southampton. How does she compare with Anthem? Very similar, what I can tell. I've not been on either, so I couldn't tell you as a customer. But they're certainly very similar. I think they're very similar in size. Bang says people rent their homes out during Cows Week and charge anywhere from £1,000 a week. Yep, I can't say I'm surprised, because it is a lot of people turn up for Cows Week. Don't know the number of figures. It's an amazing number of yachts. They have yacht racing and exhibitions, and it's a good old excuse for a lovely week on the water with friends, fireworks, and so on. But actually, I should probably reframe that. Typically, it tends to rain a lot. Cows. There's a few more shipmates. And the Queen Elizabeth is flagged in Hamilton. I believe that she used to be flagged in Southampton. But they changed the port of registry to Hamilton so that weddings could be conducted on board. Popular move. So I'm a little suspicious there might be some sort of tax advantage to it. It's not the judge, really. Oh, we see the Anthem of the Seas is merrily motoring along, even though she's quite a long way away. We can still see the giraffe. Whatever his name was. Gigi, or Gigi. Gigi the giraffe. I thought it was something that you could climb on, but it's just a sculpture there. Next time I get an opportunity to drone Anthem of the Seas, make sure that I can prime footage of the giraffe. And Anthem of the Seas is going to go behind the crane there. Although Southampton Water looks straight, there's actually got a curve in it. The navigation channel is not so straight. Oh, you can see the pilot boat there. So just to the left of where we are here, actually. Just to the left here, where you can just see a little red funnel to that building is. So where 44 berth is. That's the ocean terminal. Queen Mary 2. Oars up. And that's where you get. That's where our Titanic left from. Bit of history if you travel from there. And if you do travel from that berth, well, get a fantastic view on cruise can. Oh, Hoy Sea Dub from Vancouver as well. Yeah, 2 shipmates from Vancouver on board. Someone else is having lunch in Denver. Oh, Sunflower says one day they will visit Liverpool again in the future. Well, I think Liverpool's trying to become a cruise ship. They call it a starting location. At the moment, cruise ships can only stop at Liverpool on their way somewhere else. They're trying to change the status, and it's causing somewhat friction because a lot of money was put towards the building of the cruise ship terminal in Liverpool on the proviso that it was only a stop-off location and not a destination location. And the argument, people are arguing, saying if it's changed its status, then they should give the money back. Oh, the Beverly Jugger, Southampton looks a very nice port. It is actually. It's a lovely city. Unfortunately, a lot of people that come here on cruises often don't get to see the ports. They come in quite quickly, get on their cruise, and off they go. Which is a bit of a shame because there is some interesting history in Southampton. Got some old medieval city walls, old cellars and buildings. Been a port town for long as records have been written, as far as I can tell. Yes, of course there's a Starbucks. Yes, there is a Starbucks, unfortunately, yes. There are independent coffee shops. Andrew's statement, Disney Magic apparently doing trips to Liverpool in July. I certainly think it'll be a very interesting cruise experience to take a cruise this year. They are going to be predominantly in the UK, which is quite interesting, isn't it? It's not often you can go on a cruise in the UK. Normally you go off to the Mediterranean or go off to the States or somewhere at longer distances, but actually just to go on a bit of a cruise in the UK, I think would be quite interesting. It'd be quite windy out there because if I'm just having a quick look at the Anthem of the Seas, she's actually very gliding. Quite unusual. So the wind must be such that's causing her to go down the water at a bit of an angle. Now back to Port Cam. Gives a little bit more of a view of the Queen Elizabeth. Is just about passing the dockhead, so she'll start to speed up shortly. What about the West Quay Shopping Centre? Well, there is a West Quay Shopping Centre, yep. Is there a decent beach in Southampton? No. See one of the red and white ships. Yeah, this is the local ferry company, the Red Funnel. That's their Red Kestrel. It's a freight-only ferry. Well, it's rather new, it's only a couple of years old. It's still been very busy during the pandemic, obviously, because the Isle of Wight is an isolated island. There's no road bridge, so all goods arrive by the road. By a road vehicle, by ship. Although there has been some experiments from the local university, and they were ramped up their experiments during the pandemic to have a drone deliver medical supplies to the Isle of Wight hospital report. The drone was delivering blood and blood samples, blood tests the other way, I think, all the way from Portsmouth, hospital in Portsmouth. One of the first uses of a remote drone flying such a distance. And during the pandemic, they sped up their experiments so they could use it a little bit more often. Not totally backwards on the Isle of Wight. It is a bit of a time travel journey going to the Isle of Wight. 80 fellows, 70 us. Where is the new terminal being built? It was back at the other end of port. So you can't see it on the camera. It's just next to the City Cruise Terminal. And it's just a little bit further north of that. But I don't know if they are going to demolish the City Cruise Terminal and replace it, or if it's just an additional cruise terminal. Mac, you've got the Norwegian Cruise Line's Bliss. Yeah, you've got the Bliss and the Norwegian Non-Core and the Bliss, and they're certainly quite large, quite colourful hulls. I'm going to switch back to cruise cam here, and we'll see now that the Anthem of the Seas is going around the corner, so she'll make a hard turn to starboard to go around Cowshot Spit and then disappear around. So if we're lucky, and I don't think we will be, because I think Queen Elizabeth is going to be stuck behind the end of the dockhead, so we won't see her, but we could have seen the two ships cross. I don't think we're going to see that. Lone Wolf, your son wants to go for a long weekend and to watch the ships.
Passenger. Anthem, please. Hail from Hampton. 1. Nation is...
Thank you, phone. Yes, is there anything else? Is there anything else interesting to do if no beach? Well, there's a beach in Bournemouth. If your son's into ships, there are a number of interesting things to do in Southampton. There is actually a Titanic museum, which is actually very good. It's got all sorts of memorabilia, and it's actually in the old courtroom where some of the trials took place for the tragedy that happened. There is also an excellent aviation museum, which has some flying boats and lots of smaller aircraft and unusual aircraft, and Spitfires, of course, because Southampton is the home of the Spitfire. I can wholeheartedly recommend that. And of course we have theatres and those sort of usual bits and pieces, but certainly if you're into your ships, you might well be into the planes as well. And depending on how long you're here for, if you do want a beach, probably your best beach is going down to Bournemouth way. Beaches down there are much nicer. There is no beach in Southampton, and our nearest beaches tend to be rather pebbly, not very comfortable. You could always take a day trip to the Isle of Wight, of course, on the Red Jet, or go over to the New Forest on the Hythe Ferry. Maybe I should make a video of the places to visit in Southampton, sort of top 10, what you may or may not like, because some of them are frankly quite hidden. There are some local walking tours if you're into history, and they're very good. All the local people that give the tours really knowledgeable. It really has cleared up. That's a fantastic view all the way down there. So the grey building you can see in the sort of middle of the screen, the Anthem of the Seas you just got behind, that's the Calshot Velodrome where you can cycle round and round in circles. What emulates my life, riding round in circles. Roberts, yes, the Sun and Sky Museum, yes. That's the one. Mark Beckett recommends a pint at the Smugglers for the view. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, I would say probably if you're after a sunset view, I would go over to Cooties. He's got an excellent view of the ships coming and going, and if it's sunny, it's lovely, quiet. Probably my location for a sunny pint. The Lewis the Traveller says the Disney Magic Muster Drill is scary. Yeah, I bet it is. David says I should do a live stream to the while on the Isle of Wight ferry. It's a good idea. I might, now that we're getting out of lockdown and we can more freely travel, I shall probably investigate some of these things. You can just about, if you look at the very bow of the Anthem of the Seas now, you can see beach huts on Calshot. I can't really condone going to Calshot or the beach huts, but certainly you've got some good views there of the ships going past, and you go kite surfing there. Surfing is quite interesting. It's very shallow where that, you wouldn't believe it, but where the Anthem of the Seas is, it's very shallow. They can rip around on their kite surfs. Not too deep of water. And then massive ships passing you just a little bit further out. It must be a real shelf. Oh, Lisa W., you're going to spend a couple of days and explore Southampton before the Anthem of the Seas, Norway. Oh, excellent. Good to see you, Lisa W. Well, in that case, I might have to go and give myself the top tourist guide to Southampton. See a little series of videos coming on there. Yes, Paul Hingley. I have thought about putting a camera on the RNLI tower at Calshot. It would afford a great view. Probably give the revenue that the camera generates to the RNLI. I think that would be very fitting for the channel to support the lifeboat people. They're all volunteers. They do a really good job. I don't think we could be safe. Look at this. We're going to get it. We're getting the Queen Elizabeth and the Anthem of the Seas crossing her. I thought we might. We are. What is quite interesting is even at this distance, the Anthem of the Sea still looks quite a lot bigger. And you can see on there, that's one of those car parks that we have lots of, all full of brand new shiny Range Rovers. Well, they could be minis. I'm not sure. They're all about the same size these days, aren't they? We're not going to see much more of the Anthem of the Seas because she'll be going around Bramblebank. We can just follow the Queen Elizabeth, and we might see them crossing again as we've just watched the Queen Elizabeth going round. Sorry, we've just watched the Anthem of the Seas going around Calshot, and then I suspect as the Queen Elizabeth gets round to Calshot, the Anthem of the Seas will be going around Bramblebank. Another opportunity to see both again at the same time, although much further distance and visually not quite so appealing. Yes, this new camera, the cruise cam, is certainly my favourite cam. It does. I saw someone just say they like the quality. It is a stunning quality on this camera. William Apps, am I a captain myself? No, only a captain of my own little rubber ducky, the Bath. Linda Prudensky, they are Range Rovers, yes. I know the Range Rovers, I just jest. We have a lot of Range Rovers leaving the port. In fact, there is a train that comes into the dock and that brings in the Minis, I think, from the factory. Lewis, the Trouble Spotter, you think Queen Elizabeth looks like the Disney with the black and red? I don't know, you could be right. Not that familiar with the Disney range of cruise ships. I'm assuming they don't come with McDonald's Happy Meals, or a little larger. It's really cleared up quite nicely. This is about as clear, I think, as I've seen it, seeing the Isle of Wight at that distance. Oh, I do agree with you there, Beverly Judge. It must be very odd being on board with no passengers. Must be quite a rattly old ghost ship. And not even fully crewed, so instead of having 1,000 or 2,000 crew on board, you've only got a couple of hundred, so that's probably the bare minimum complement required to operate the vessel effectively. Well, shipmates, hope you've enjoyed this little extravaganza, and please come back for May the 20th when we have the first passenger ship leaving with passengers. And if you want to be notified, just hit that subscribe button and there's a little notification bell thingy-bobs. And be invited to anything that comes up. I don't necessarily plan the live streams, it's more a case of fitting them into my schedule. I shall keep following the ships until they disappear out of sight. But until next time, shipmates.
BTS, it's on the board, Western Shelf.
It's on the board, BTS, all received, thank you. Queen Elizabeth BTS, that's all received, sir, thank you.
BTS, Roger, Southampton, at the inbound.
Roger, send BTS, that's all, copy address, please, sir. Red Osprey BTS, that's all copied, sir, thank you. You've got the booth in there, and the Queen Elizabeth. The further traffic, the heroic leader, just a lane flake out, followed by the Sponsorboard, just past the Western Shelf outward bound. That's all copied, thank you. Okay, Chongqing, Someone Winchester. Good evening, mate. Chongqing, VGS, that's all received, man, thank you. You see the Grand Legacy there out Westford Tower. Anthem of the Seas approaching the Sturbridge, outward bound Westford Tower. Queen Elizabeth, Hook, outwards, followed by the UKD Bluefin. And the heroic leader approaching the Cadlands, followed by the Thunderbird. Cochrane 10, Fernando VGS, come on. Good evening, sir. Cochrane 10, VGS, that's all received, sir, thank you. You've got the Grand Legacy pilot just about to disembark outward bound west of the tower, followed by the Anthem of the Seas approaching the ports now outward bound west of the tower. VGS, good inches there. Yep, I've got 3.51 on the gauge. That's all received, no problem, thank you. The APL John Queen, just north and east of the tower, inward bound.
In.
I'm home, VGS, good evening. I'm home, VGS, that's all received there, thank you. After reported nothing due out from the west of the moment. Good evening, sir. That's all you see. You see the APL John Queen and Deepwater Channel there inwards. Got the Mont Saint Michel west of the outer nabs, inward bound, over the new grounds, The man on will be boarding the pilot into the town in the next 10 minutes or so, sir. The company from the south-east, also going west of the town over to the grounds, the Kong 10-10. Grand Legacy Southampton VTS there. Good evening. Grand Legacy VTS there to receive, sir. Thank you. You've got the cross-channel ferry code 1010 coming in from the south there, sir. Good evening to you. Have safe passage and see you next time. Fontaine Shell, we test that all received, sir, thank you. You have the Anthem of the Seas approaching St Helens outward bound. Inward-bound traffic, the APL Chong Queen. Just coming out of the Deepwater Channel inward-bound for Southampton. The Queen Elizabeth is at the PC outward-bound as well.
Southampton VTS, the Red Osprey passing northwest Netley, in for roll pier, permission to proceed at speed please.
Red Osprey VTS, good evening sir, yes please.
VTS, Roger. 7, short away, town key to cows, please.
Jet 7 VTS, all received, Red Osprey approaching Western Shelf there. The Sunderberg SO1 outward bound. Heroic leader approaching Hook outward bound. And nothing else immediate for you at the moment, sir.
So copy, thanks so much.
Leon Zeus, Southampton VTS, good evening. Leon Zeus, Southampton VTS, that's all received, sir, thank you. Confirming the pilot boarding time, 20:45. West of the nav tower, pilot position Charlie, and information for you, sir, your pilot is coming from the outbound cruise liner, Anthem of the Seas. The pilot will come directly from this vessel to you. He is outward bound, passing west of the nav tower. Further other traffic, sir, the Grand Legacy west of the tower outwards, and inward bound, the cross-channel ferry, Cote 10, south of the outer nav buoys, inward bound, west of the nav tower, over the new grounds. Over. That's all correct, that's all correct, and maintaining good lifting watch on 12 and 09. The pilot launch will call on his way to you with instruction, and do not pass the pilot station until your pilot is safely on the bridge, over.
To VTS, heroic leader, Hook Boy, outbound, main coming to you.
Heroic leader, VTS, that's all received, sir, good evening to you. The APL Chong Queen, nav envoy now inward bound, and we're boarding the Leon Zeus 2045 west of the tower.
We'll see,